Get ready for some hard-hitting podcast action as you're tuned in to the Slam Session.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Slam Sessions, Session 11 of the Slam Sessions. I'm your host, Albert Albanese, and as always, you can find us on Twitter at the Slam Sessions and on Facebook now at, not at, because that's not how Facebook works. It's facebook.com/the Slam Sessions Podcast Network. This is a very special post-Wrestlemania episode of the Slam Sessions. I know there's been a lot of talk about Wrestlemania, and honestly, with the exception of one or two things, it's actually been mostly positive, which is really weird because wrestling fans hate to like anything that the WWE does. And I hate wrestling fans. So, I know this is going to be really bad. I'm going to rip into you guys again because right now I'm recording this. It's 8:21 p.m. I should be watching the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, but I'll do that when I get home. But I want to break into that a little bit because something major happened in the first 20 minutes of the show that everybody's writing about on Facebook and Twitter that I want to break into. And it'll go along with, the last thing that I talk about. So let's jump right into this. I'm not going to, make a big statement about overall what I thought about WrestleMania and blah, blah, blah. Right now, out of 10, if I had to give it a number grade, I'd say it was a solid 8. It was a good event. I liked just about everything about it. A couple of things I would change, a couple of things I didn't like. But other than that, it's not so much that I could complain about that I hated it, that, it turned me off. So let's just start. One of the things that I would change. The first match was the Cruiserweight match, opened up the show. It was on the pre-show. And, here's one of the things that I would have changed. I think the idea of having Aries versus Neville was a great idea, and the match was great. But this is WrestleMania, and I like the idea of getting more people involved, so it would have been cool to see the 205 Live Cruiserweights maybe in a gauntlet-style match or maybe like a Cruiserweight Battle Royal where, maybe Neville and Aries' match could have been cut in half, but they would have been the last two men in there, and then they would have went one-on-one together, one-on-one with each other. Or maybe Aries wins the Cruiserweight Battle Royal and then faces Neville right afterwards for the Cruiserweight title. Maybe they cut a little bit out of that match and they, let them, go at it at a little bit of a faster pace. I think the idea is just I'd like to see more of these Cruiserweights get onto the main card, get onto WrestleMania, and it would have been really cool. We could have Neville's versus Aries in any pay-per-view, anytime, on 205 Live, on Monday Night Raw, but it'd be really cool to see that these guys got a little bit more of a chance to do a show, to be on the main show and maybe, get used a little bit better. But I'm not complaining. Neville versus Aries was a great match. They put on a great show. I like the ending. Neville's still the king of the cruiserweights. He's doing a great job. And as big of a fan as I am of Aries, I said this a couple times on this podcast, I am a huge fan of heel Neville. I think he's doing a great job. And it was a great way to open the show. I'm a little confused. Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I think we all kind of thought Braun Strowman was going to win. Big Show was maybe almost like a distant second pick. Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler were two other names that were getting floated around. And Big Show and Strowman got eliminated early on. And then, Zayn and Ziggler both go out. And then Killian Dane from NXT goes out. And all of a sudden, if you were to pick the last two guys to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, would be Mojo Rawley and Jinder Mahal. If you would have bet that, you would probably be a billionaire right now. Look, I'm not a Patriots fan, so seeing Rob Gronkowski get in the ring just pissed me off. Ruining yet another thing, being a Patriot. Haunt my dreams. But it was cool to see him get involved, hit a big shoulder tackle. Mojo Rawley wins, and if you had Mojo Rawley as the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I need to see something in writing, but I think I'll just hand you $10 because, you are better than I. I'm not giving anybody any money, just throwing that out there. So, that was cool. I think that, they don't make the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal mean anything. So I guess it doesn't make a difference that, the Mojo Rawley actually won it. I don't think really anybody cares that, because it's, who knows if it's going to lead to anything. I think that next year they should put a stipulation on it where winner gets an Intercontinental title shot or a United States title shot or maybe even a world title shot at an eventual pay-per-view. Really build that guy up to, make him like a contender and give them, make the Battle Royal have a little bit of consequence. Third match on the pre-show card, Dean Ambrose defeats Baron Corbin, retains the Intercontinental Championship. And man, I'm shocked here. This was Baron Corbin's time. I think maybe there's a lot of heels that went over at WrestleMania, and maybe that's why they gave Ambrose the win. But I really thought this was the time for Baron Corbin to take the Intercontinental title. Maybe they want to do it on a SmackDown pay-per-view where that's actually one of the bigger matches on the card. I would actually be a little bit more happy with that. I guess, give it a little bit more substance, and it's not at WrestleMania on a pre-show. But no, I think the match was good. I think that Corbin kind of deserved to win. But you know what? Ambrose is rolling it with the Intercontinental title, and, maybe we're going to get some brand changes pretty soon, so maybe Corbin becomes a bigger part of Raw, and maybe that's why they don't want to give him an Intercontinental title shot. Maybe eventually he comes to Raw and becomes a U.S. champion. We'll see. So now we go to the main card. Okay, first and foremost, I really wish this wasn't. I wasn't gonna do the show in order of matches. But you know what? It's easier, and screw it. First complaint ever. Hey, everybody out there who said AJ Styles deserves a really good opponent for WrestleMania. Shane McMahon doesn't know how to wrestle. Shane McMahon is a spot monkey. All he does is jump off of big things. He's going to have one big moment. The rest of the match is going to suck, and everybody's going to complain. How do you feel now? The match stole the damn show. I'm sick and tired of hearing everybody pass judgment on things that haven't happened yet. You had no clue what the match was going to be like. And when Tommy came on this show a couple of weeks ago and we did our WrestleMania predictions, we both said that this was going to be the match that stole the show. And it did. Shane versus AJ stole the damn show. It was one of the top 3 matches at WrestleMania this year. So for everybody who was out there ripping into this match before it ever happened, I hope that you really like eating crow, because they shoved it down your damn stupid, judgmental throats. AJ Styles went out there with Shane McMahon, and they put on a damn classic. Shane showed he can hold his own in the ring, even though he's not a full-time trained wrestler, and AJ Styles showed that he can carry anybody who, it doesn't make a difference. He probably could carry me through a really solid match. It had a really good reaching implications. AJ Styles wins. It keeps him in the mix, keeps him as a big main event player on SmackDown. Maybe he moves over to Raw in a little bit and, becomes a big main event player over there. But it keeps AJ Styles in the mix. It makes everybody look good. I don't have much else to say about it. The match was phenomenal. And it was so phenomenal that, I'm going to spoil a little the end of the podcast. That's my match of the week this week. If you didn't watch WrestleMania and you had to look at going back to watching one match from WrestleMania, watch that one. That's it. Next match was KO versus Jericho, U.S. title. Again, Jericho and Kevin Owens have the best feud in wrestling going right now, and the most entertaining feud going in wrestling right now, and they killed it. Another great match between these two guys. They did exactly what we thought we were going to do and put on a damn clinic. Owens and Jericho went out there and they put on another solid match. Kevin Owens gets the win, gets the U.S. championship. This was something I kind of didn't want to see. I wanted to see Jericho win because Jericho's my favorite wrestler of all time. And because, I just think Owens was a world champion for such a long time, and giving him the U.S. title almost seems like it's either they're trying to diminish the U.S. championship or they're trying to put it on Owens to really put it up there as, kind of like what it was on Reigns, as a really top title. I think that might be the reason, because, with spoiler alert if you haven't watched WrestleMania and you're listening to this, and, spoiler alert, Brock Lesnar wins the world championship. He's not going to be there all the time, so maybe this becomes the it title on Raw for a little while, main events, pay-per-views and stuff. So if that's the case, Kevin Owens carrying Raw again, having the U.S. championship, I dig it. Next, Bayley, Charlotte, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Fatal 4-Way Women's Championship. Sasha gets the cool entrance and gets beaten again. I feel like every year this is going to be her thing. She got the cool entrance last year with her cousin Snoop Dogg wrapping her down in the ring, and then she got beat. And then she gets a cool entrance on the little on the back of that little car thing, and then she gets beat. Good match. Nia dominates in the beginning. It takes all 3 women to beat her. Charlotte gets, a little bit of cheap heat by using the turnbuckle to eliminate Sasha. And Bayley achieves her dream of being in her first ever WrestleMania and retaining the Raw Women's Championship. Just another solid contest by these ladies. They are just as good, if not better, than some of the men on the roster. And they're really showing that they belong as a main event force within the wrestling business. Women's wrestling is doing good business, and that's good for women's equality, and it's good for women's wrestling, and it's good for wrestling in general, and it's good for women. They have positive role models, and these girls aren't just some models with their boobs sticking out and their butts sticking out, and going out there and barely knowing what to do. They're real wrestlers. They know what they're doing in that ring, and they do a phenomenal job. And it's really good for a girl to be in the front row watching WrestleMania and seeing that and saying, "Dad, I want to be like them." It's a great thing for the wrestling industry. It's a great thing for just the world in general. So it's good to see some women being positive role models out there, and they put on a great match again. On to the shocker of the night: Sheamus and Cesaro versus Enzo and Cass versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the tag team champions, in a ladder match. And there have been rumblings about some other team maybe being in it. And out come your hosts, The New Day, and they tease that there's going to be another team. And for a little while, it actually looked like The New Day were going to insert themselves into the match. And then we hear their old familiar music, and out comes Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys, and they make a surprise return to the WWE after so many years. And after a stellar ladder match with Jeff Hardy jumping off another 20-foot ladder onto a couple of guys, and Matt Hardy hitting a twist of fate off the top of the ladder, Enzo and Cass doing some good work, Anderson and Gallows, throwing people around, Sheamus and Cesaro swinging and clubbering everybody in their way. Matt and Jeff Hardy take the championships home with them, and they did a little bit of a promo, and they're kind of broken. So it's kind of cool to see that they're keeping the gimmick. And, one thing that I thought was really cool that within, we're in April, so we're 4 months into the year, and within this year, Matt and Jeff Hardy have been TNA World Tag Team Champions, ROH World Tag Team Champions, and now WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. Tip your cap to these guys. They're killing it in the wrestling industry. They're killing it in the business, and they killed it in that ladder match, and I can't wait to see the reaction they get on Raw tonight. Or, well, on Monday night. You're not going to listen to this when I'm recording it, and then it gets put on, so whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Mark out moment of the night. Matt and Jeff making a big return. Moving on next, John Cena and Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice. They just kind of went the way you thought it was going to go. Miz and Maurice got a little bit of cheap heat, but Cena and Nikki wind up dominating, and they get the win. And seriously, it's cheesy, and it was, some people kind of predicted it may have happened, but John Cena proposes to Nikki Bella, asked the girl to marry her in the middle of the ring, and the fans booed. Now, let me tell you something. I get you don't like John Cena, but it's a moment. It's a moment. It's a cool moment in the middle of WrestleMania. Cena picks up the win. He gets down on one knee. He proposes to the girl that he loves. Whether it's a storyline, whether it's real life, it's a moment. Man, do you really have to ruin everything as wrestling fans? Are you really such condescending little pricks that you have to boo somebody asking somebody to marry them? I mean, really, are you really that much of a spoiled bunch of little pricks? I don't understand how for 15 years, I'm sorry, longer, 25 years, I'm 31, so maybe even longer, maybe it's 27 years, 28 years, I've been a wrestling fan. And I've grown to hate wrestling fans. You guys are the bunch of the most miserable pricks on the planet. I mean, have a little bit of respect. It was a cool moment. Maybe it's not, the whole, oh, we're macho guys, so we watch wrestling BS. Guess what? Get over yourselves. You're not the only people who watch wrestling. You know what the WWE wants? The WWE wants women to watch wrestling. So they have a Total Divas show, and that Total Divas show might have translated into, these girls saying, oh, I want to order WrestleMania because I want to see John Cena and Nikki Bella, who on the Total Bellas show, team up at WrestleMania. That would be cool. They're on that show that I watch. Maybe that was a good moment for them. So stop being a bunch of pricks, you spoiled little jerk-offs. I mean, seriously, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of hearing these John Cena come out and getting booed. The guy puts in more work in a week than you probably put in your entire lives. And I mean, maybe not, because maybe your wrist probably gets a lot of work, because God knows you probably all don't get laid. Because this is the highest point of your life is probably WrestleMania. God damn. Just a bunch of jerk-offs. Swear to God. I'm going to move on before I'm going to tear into you guys in a couple more minutes afterwards anyway. So let's move on from there. Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. The match was a little bit of a letdown for me. Orton wins the world championship. And look, I'm a Randy Orton fan. I've been a Randy Orton fan since, he got hurt in his initial run. I mean, the first run that he's ever had, and he ripped his shoulder out of his socket, and he, did the RNN updates, and I was a big fan of Randy Orton from then on. So right at the beginning of Randy Orton really basically debuting, I was a Randy Orton fan. I never wavered. I've always been a Randy Orton fan. But I really like Bray Wyatt's character, and I really wanted to see Bray Wyatt win this one. And, he came up short. They did some cool things with, the ring and projecting stuff in the middle of the ring, and they did there was a lot of cool moments, but the match was just a little bit slow. It was a little bit of a letdown. The feud was really good. The build was really good up to it. I just don't think the match paid off well. That may be a low point of WrestleMania for me, and it's upsetting because it was one of the matches I was looking forward to. But hey, look, Randy Orton has been in the WWE for a long time, and he's a veteran, and sometimes these veteran deserves a world title run. And I think, maybe this should have been the opposite way, and maybe Bray should have maybe won the title, and Orton should have won it at the Elimination Chamber instead. Regardless, I'm interested to see where this goes. Eric Rowan's supposed to come back. We don't know what Luke Harper's status is when it comes to the Wyatts. Maybe they reform the original Wyatt family, and they hunt Randy Orton, and maybe Bray gets the belt back in a couple of months. But we'll see. I think this was a good match. I think, it wasn't, it was an okay match. But, still, I'm not going to be condescending towards it. This is the way the WWE wanted to do it, and there's a reason for it. SmackDown's been on fire lately, so I kind of have the idea that they're going to go the right way with it. Our next match, Brock Lesnar. I skipped the match, actually. Before the Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt match was Triple H versus Seth Rollins. And I don't know how I skipped this, because it was actually one of the best matches of the night. They did the whole deal with, Rollins' knee. You got to attack Rollins' knee. I get it. The idea of this being a non-sanctioned match was really good. Really good uses of, steel chairs. The sledgehammer got introduced. First of all, the entrances. I love that Triple H came out on like this big motorcycle thing with Stephanie on the back. Looked like something out of Mad Max. Kind of a badass intro. Triple H always seems to have a badass intro at WrestleMania every year. And you know what? If you're married to the boss's daughter, you probably can get a badass intro to WrestleMania every year. But Rollins, man, that was cool. The gold outfit, the torch. He was not waiting for it to be passed to him by Triple H. He took it. Stephanie McMahon at the end taking a table bump, falling backwards, crashing through a table. Rollins getting a win with Triple H's move, the pedigree. This put Rollins on the map even bigger than his title run. Triple H put Seth Rollins over on the mic, a couple years ago, and now he puts him over in the middle of the ring. Solid match. Another great contest between these two guys, and Seth Rollins is going to be, one of the top guys on Raw for a very long time. I can't wait to see what's next for Seth Rollins. So moving on to the other world title match, Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. This match was the most action-packed 4 minutes or 5 minutes I've ever seen in my entire life. Legitimately, there were 4 moves used in this match. A spear, a jackhammer, a German suplex, and an F5. Nothing pretty, down and dirty. 2 guys beating the holy hell out of each other for 5 minutes. Goldberg spears Brock through a friggin' barricade. He jackhammers him in the center of the ring, and Brock kicks out. Brock suplexes Goldberg 10 freaking times, hits him with the F5, wins the world championship. The most badass 5 minutes you'll ever see. It was a great match. It was what it needed to be. It didn't need to be a 15-minute, chain wrestling clinic. It didn't need to be 10 minutes of these 2 guys just beating each other down and having the boo, yay, punch exchange or whatever. They went out there, they beat the snot out of each other. They left it all in the middle, and Lesnar walks out as the champion, gets his redemption. I loved it. So Naomi comes back in Orlando, in her hometown, and she beats Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Mickie James, and Natalya. 6-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship. She wins the whole deal. And, that's a huge win for Naomi. She goes out with an injury, unfortunately. She comes back. She wins the championship. Big up to Naomi. Congratulations. You deserve it. You're great. Naomi's a great athlete, and she deserves everything that she got. And finally, the match that everybody's talking about. Roman Reigns goes one-on-one with The Undertaker. And, at points it's kind of hard to take my feelings and not flip out. Look, after all is said and done, this match was pretty badass. Undertaker comes out, another cool entrance. Roman has a cool entrance. Main events the pay-per-view where everybody thought it was going to be Brock versus Goldberg. Instead, it's Roman versus Undertaker. And, we have another classic clash between two big men. People are bitching already. Roman gets a win at WrestleMania in the main event. If you didn't think this was going to happen, you were kind of freaking stupid. But the match was great. Undertaker put on a good performance, but you can see, even since last year, the guy's just kind of lost a step. And I think he knows that it was time, to see. Look, the story isn't about, the story isn't in the match. The story is in after the match. Because Roman gets the win. Roman gets the win. And, we see The Undertaker go out, and he takes his hat and his jacket, and he takes them both off and leaves them in the center of the ring and walks out of the ring and uncharacteristically breaks character and gives his wife a kiss in the front row of in the front row and walks off. And that's it. We witnessed The Undertaker's last match. For me, it's bittersweet because I've been an Undertaker fan. How could you not be a fan of the dead man? Undertaker's one of those guys who transcends the wrestling business. Where if you walked up to somebody and said, "Can you name 5 wrestlers?" The Undertaker's one of those guys whose name's usually going to be mentioned, even people who aren't wrestling fans. The stalwart, the locker room leader, a guy you can always call on to just be, to have an amazing match, and he was doing that for the past couple of years at WrestleMania every year. And as a wrestling fan, what I want to just do is say thank you. Thank you to The Undertaker for years of phenomenal matches, phenomenal moments. The WWE will never be the same without the dead man. Nothing but respect for The Undertaker. Now I'm going to move on a little bit to tonight because the only thing I have seen on my Facebook feed and on my Twitter feed has been 13 minutes of Roman Reigns coming out in front of a crowd, being booed, F you being chanted at him, people flipping out. I could go 2 routes. I really can. I can go 2 routes. I can go one route and just be like, shame on you guys for doing what I keep saying or whatever. But you know what? I don't want to scream and yell and carry on and get pissed off, but screw it. First and foremost, if you have kids that are listening to this podcast, do yourselves a favor and pull them away from it. I'm not going to be responsible for corrupting children at this point. There's going to be cursing. There's going to be vulgar language because I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm going to probably tell you that this may be one of the last times I'm going to say this, but it's not going to be because I don't think it's ever going to change. And, I'm actually going to get so worked up. I'm actually going to stand because I know I'm going to flip out. So let's just, I'm trying to calm myself down so I don't flip out so bad. But people that are in the studio right now are about to hear me, and they're probably going to think, what the hell is wrong with this crazy lunatic screaming into a microphone inside this studio? Here's the deal. WWE doesn't give a fucking shit about what you hardcore wrestling fans want. They can give a flying fuck less. And you want to know why? Because you know what you guys all did last night? As much as you knew Roman Reigns was going to beat The Undertaker, as much as you knew the outcome of that match was going to be what you didn't want, you plopped your fucking $10 down. You sat on your fat fucking virgin asses. You threw popcorn on your lap. You slapped your stomach a few times and laughed and giggled and, screamed crap about how you could have booked WrestleMania better than Vince McMahon, a guy who's been doing it since he was 20 fucking years old. But you know better than he does because you sat there and watched the fucking TV show for a while. And you watched Roman Reigns retire The Undertaker, and you bitched and you moaned and you complained. You went online and you went on Facebook and you talked about how much you know better and how this was disrespectful for The Undertaker. That Roman doesn't draw a dime and that nobody will ever accept Roman Reigns as a main eventer. And I don't understand why they wouldn't go this route and that route and this route and that route because you fucking know better, right? You know better than everybody else. Not the fact that Roman Reigns is selling more merchandise than any other active full-time wrestler on the roster. Not to mention that the mixed reactions that he gets are outweighed as much as more than the mixed reactions that Cena gets because most of the fans that Roman Reigns has are young kids. Now, let me ask you a fucking question. When you were a fucking kid and you went out and you watched, I don't know how old some of you guys are, but when you went out and you watched Hulk Hogan in the middle, doing his thing in the middle of the ring. Or you went out and you watched Shawn Michaels doing his thing in the middle of the ring. What happens if all of you fat fucking assholes decided that, the people that were, of the age above you, they all decided they were going to boo the shit out of your heroes? How would you feel? You'd feel like shit. You'd go and you'd sit there and you look at all these people and you'd go, "What, Dad, Mom, why do they hate him? I like him. Why do all these people hate him?" And then you're going to have some big, stupid-ass Mark with a giant beard and long hair who's never had the touch of another human being on his penis. And he's going to sit there and sit down and he's going to explain to you the idea that, well, we don't like this guy because there are some guys from the independents who deserve better than, some of the guys that Vince McMahon wants to shove down your throats. Vince McMahon wants you to like Shawn Michaels because Shawn Michaels is the guy that Vince McMahon wants you to like, but we're not supposed to like him. Instead, we're going to like the 1, 2, 3 kid and Sparky Plug and, this other guy because they work harder than Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels just handed everything because you know better than everybody else in the fucking business, right? You know better than the people who get paid to sit there every week and write out a show. Do you understand the stress and the pressure that it takes? You can sit there and launch half-ass storylines with your friends while you drink a Zima and think that you're better than everybody else. But the fact of the matter is that you don't know the pressure it takes. And you can sit there and say, "Oh, well, what do you know?" I do know the pressure that it takes. I've written television shows before. I've helped write scripts. I've helped write movies. I've worked under crunch time. I've worked through deadlines. I've been through this. This was something I did at one point. And I know how hard it is when you're sitting there and you're trying to come up with something, and maybe the obvious thing doesn't strike you, or maybe it does, and your boss says, "You know what? That's not what I want." So let me put it to you this way. You guys want to go out there and you want to boo Roman Reigns for 17 minutes because you think you know better than everybody else? Or you think it's fucking cool? You think you're the cool people in the world because we're going to hijack the show and take it over? You're nothing but a bunch of pathetic losers. Pathetic losers that Triple H, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, and everybody else who writes and works in the WWE knows that they have in the palm of their fucking hand. They're right here. You're right there. Because they don't have to cater to you. Because in 15 years, you're still going to be watching WrestleMania. You're still going to be bitching and moaning and complaining. But they're still going to get your $10 every month. And, for today, there was a fucking sale on WWEshop.com. Buy a t-shirt, get another one for $1. I bet you guys all got that email, and I bet you all went, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go out, and I hate Roman Reigns so much, I'm going to support my favorite wrestler, and I'm going to get an AJ Styles t-shirt, and I'm going to get a Sami Zayn t-shirt, because they deserve better than everybody else, blah, blah, blah." Guess what the WWE is doing? Laughing in your fucking faces because they just got more of your money. After you just paid money to watch WrestleMania, they got more of it. You want to sit there and you want to make a change? You're not doing a good job because guess what just came in? The numbers for the subscriptions for the WWE Network. And they're up from 1.5 million people to 1.9 million people now have subscriptions to the WWE Network. So whatever you're trying to do isn't working. because you're still watching, and you're going to bitch and moan and complain all you want. And instead of letting these kids who are buying the Roman Reigns merchandise, who like Roman, who go there to cheer Roman because that's what they like. Because face it, it's not a PG-13 or an R-rated product anymore like it was during your glory days in the Attitude Era. It's a PG-rated show. It's geared towards kids. So these kids have these heroes, these idols that they look up to, that you are going there and booing the crap out of and making them, you know what, in a few years, may not like the wrestling business. You know what I hope? I hope that for each and every one of you who goes out and does this, I hope that you find a beautiful woman. And that beautiful woman says, I want to have your child. And they do. And in 3 years, you sit them in front of the television and you say, child, this is wrestling. Let's watch this together. And the first thing that happens is that AJ Styles comes out. And you're like, this is AJ Styles. AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's traveled through the independent promotions. He was a TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He was an IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He is fantastic. And then the next day, the next person who comes out is Roman Reigns. And you're like, oh, here's the guy that everybody's supposed to like, but nobody really likes him. And your kid sits there and goes, that Roman Reigns guy looks really cool. And I hope he becomes the biggest Roman Reigns fan in the world. And I hope that as a parent, you have to make the decision that you have to buy Roman Reigns merchandise for your children because they dig Roman Reigns. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Wrestling right now is not made for you. If you don't like it, stop watching it. Because all those other kids who are enjoying it, they're the ones who it's for. And if you hate Roman Reigns that much, you hate Vince McMahon that much, you hate the WWE that much, do yourselves a favor. Shut the fuck up. Stop watching. Stop going on these stupid Facebook groups and spewing all this hate. Because you know what it's got, you know what it's going to do? Nothing. You're not going to change a goddamn thing. I feel like every week I have to come out here and yell at wrestling fans because I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing all your bullshit. That's going to be all for me this week because I can go for another half an hour on just yelling at wrestling fans. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. And, again, the match of the week is Shane versus AJ from Wrestlemania. If you didn't, go back and rewatch it because it was that good. They put on a clinic. Even though all you marks would probably sit there and say, well, it would have been better if Nakamura was, AJ Styles' opponent. Because we can't save things for next year's WrestleMania. This is the only WrestleMania AJ Styles will ever be in, right? Fucking morons. So with that being said, that's it for me this week. You probably all hate me and probably think that I'm probably the biggest douchebag on the planet. And quite frankly, if you do, then I've probably done my job. Because you guys all should take a look in the mirror and realize just how stupid you are. For everybody else who listened and who agrees with me, thank you. And if for all of you guys who maybe didn't agree with me and now you're kind of taking a look in the mirror, I hope I swayed you over to the right side. Because quite frankly, I avoid conversations with wrestling fans because I actually can't stand most of them. And it's a sad day that I can't talk about something I love because of people that I hate. That's it for session 11 of the Slam Sessions. I'm Albert Albanese. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Slam Sessions. Find us on Twitter at the Slam Sessions. We'll see you next time.